Talking to you about how to do digital marketing, but I'm going to be talking to you about the current environment and how we need to respond to it, which is why I've chosen to call it digital marketing now. So again, these are a few more things that I was talking about. Improve affordability with offers. If you're a premium brand, you might look at offering a more affordable sub-brand. Bolster trust.
Welcome back to day 2 of the Storytellers Social Summit. Happy World Social Media Day again, and thank you so much for joining us. This session is an extremely interesting one. How do you adapt right now to what's to follow while still not losing out on what is happening right now? We have David here joining us from Social Beer to talk about this. Without Sherman is going to be your lovely host for today. And also, hey, I've got to remind you about the mail which you got, right? That was sent to you through HandySends. Make sure you check them out. And without further ado, over to you, Sherman.
Thank you so much, Kaushik. And it's good to be here. And warm welcome to Storytellers Tribe, every viewers. And just before starting this session, I would like to go back in time. So 10 years before, on June 30th, 2010, Mashable, a global multi-platform media and entertainment company based out of New York, launched first Social Media Day. And it was a way to recognize and celebrate social media's impact on global communication. Today, we are excited to have Mr. David Appasamy, who has celebrated internet even before Mashable. The internet has been his passion and firmly believes that it is a vital platform for companies to represent itself in business and marketing. He is an alma mater of IIM Ahmedabad and has over 37 years of experience and worked in various companies like ITC, 𝗦𝘁cie 𝗿𝗶𝗹𝗶 Technologies, and now with Social Beats as head brand and strategy. With vast experience covering from business strategy, brand and marketing management, digital marketing, and audience enhancements. Awarded one of the 50 leading marketing strategies in the world by World Marketing Congress 2018. This award is a great thing to have you here. And also he is a speaker at international conferences like WSSIS, Internet Governance for Forums, Internet Society Global, selected by UN Secretary General to serve on the multi-stakeholder advisory group on the Internet Governance Forum as well. Therefore, we are having a great person among our midst who has traveled with internet evolution throughout his career journey. And we are all privileged to have him as a speaker with Storytellers Tribe and deliver us a session on digital marketing now and in future. It's a pleasure having you, Mr. David. The screen is yours.
Thank you, Sherman. It's great meeting you again after many, many years. I must tell all of you that Sherman and I were colleagues in 𝗬𝗎𝗍 Technologies many years ago. So let me start with my screen sharing. So what I'd like to share with you today is digital marketing now and in the future. Now, digital marketing is something that all of you can learn about. There are multiple courses available here and there. And Social Beat, we ourselves have DigiGrad, where you can learn digital marketing, either a full-fledged course or specializations in various aspects of digital marketing. So I'm not going to be talking to you about how to do digital marketing, but I'm going to be talking to you about the current environment and how we need to respond to it, which is why I've chosen to call it digital marketing now and in future. So what's happening now? The question now in everybody's minds is, when will the pandemic end? And we're in the thick of it. And as you know, it's not a pretty picture just now, especially in our city. Or if you look at Delhi or Mumbai, some places seem to have it under control, but we are in trouble. And if you look at ourselves as a nation, where every other country has managed to bring the curve down before unlocking, we've unlocked as it's growing, which doesn't augur very well for us. It doesn't look very encouraging, does it? So it is a time of great uncertainty. And therefore, when we look at now, we need to take stock of what is likely to happen. What is likely to happen is a second wave. So China is already seeing the second wave, and the second wave could be worse than the first. And this is what happened with the Spanish flu of 100 years ago. The second wave killed 5 times more people than the first one. So we're not looking at some short-term thing here. We are looking at something that's going to last, which means the longer it extends, the more job cuts are likely. It's not a pretty picture. Here you can see, they worked it out with various scenarios, which sectors, how many jobs, all that sort of thing. But all this is temporary because the situation is changing day by day as we proceed. The Imperial College of Medicine in London has estimated that this whole pandemic thing is going to last 12 to 18 months. Yes, I'm afraid so. 12 to 18 months. Because as you can see, there is a first wave. The smaller curve is if the wave is controlled, and you can see the second wave. So we're really talking about till the end of next year. And that's a very long time. And 2 months ago, people said we'll still grow at 1.9%, but the current forecasts are that our GDP is going to contract by 5% in 2021. This is not a pretty picture because we're talking about a recession. We're not talking about slower growth. We're talking about contraction. And the industries that will be impacted are largely the ones whose characteristics mean that people have to meet and interact or be within closed spaces. And they put out a grid in terms of looking at what are the likely industries and how they're going to be impacted. So tourism and hospitality is obviously very, very high because it involves, traveling, it involves being in airports and crowds, it involves being in hotels with other people, and this close human interaction is very essential. And hygiene perception is low because it's not in your control. If you go to the airport bathroom, who knows who went before you and whether they were infected or not, and so on and so forth. Similarly, sports. If you're packed into a stadium, you're in trouble. Or music, a music concert, for example. Then the threat, the level of threat goes down. But you can see how it is mapped. And then depending on the industry you're in, what is likely to happen to you. So all this means that there is a large, almost a fear psychosis, a sense of feeling fragile, a sense of insecurity that has come in. And people's behavior, therefore, is changing. It's almost like we have a siege mentality, right? We are at home and we've got the door closed and we don't want the virus to come in. So what's going to play out over time? We're going to be more anxious. There is going to be loneliness and depression. Work from home is going to be the order of the day. Typical office jobs are going to reduce. Takeout or home delivery is going to be here to stay, much, much more than ever before. There's what is called damaged trust in the hygiene of people and products. If there are 2 people in a room and one coughs, it's like an alarm bell going, There is a lot of fear and there's rising tension and conflicts at all levels. As you know, in our country, you have physical abuse at home rising exponentially because of this, because people are stuck together and tempers flare up. And there'll be limited contact with older generations because you'll put them at risk. So if you have grandparents living in a different place, you can't even go and see them. And they're going to be very lonely. And in the long run, people who are certified as immune, having got it and got over it, they're going to get maybe even passports to travel because they are people who can't get infected. Air travel restrictions within the country and internationally is going to continue for a while. And I'll just minimize this. There will be unprecedented levels of global unemployment, not just in India. We're already seeing humongous levels of unemployment in the country. I'm sure that every one of you knows somebody who's been laid off and their future seems uncertain. And what is possibly a good thing is that earlier we all had this thing about your job identity being you. That is changing. Your job is a job. It is you who matters. And that switch has taken place because of the pandemic. But it's not all gloom and doom. As Rahm Emanuel, Barack Obama's chief of staff, famously said, you never want a serious crisis to go to waste. It's an opportunity to do things you thought you could not do before. This is the time to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and see what we can do. So before we start thinking about marketing or digital marketing, think about, do I need to have a business model change? Based on the characteristics we saw earlier, do we need to change? Because everything has changed. Earlier, it was just in time and people prided themselves on not having lots of inventory and they carried zero inventory. Today, we want to carry inventory because of uncertainty. We have to carry inventory because we don't know if production will supply us. So there's an increase in warehousing and a decline in offline retail, but an increase in online. In fact, according to the Retailers Association of India, they're saying 25% of retailers might be out of business. And even this is dated. They're now talking about 40%. So businesses that are digital first will have an edge. Clearly, there's an increase in e-commerce and a decline in offline retail. You all know that they've allowed malls to open, but how many of you have gone to a mall? Chennai, of course, you can't, but in other places. Do you really want to go to a mall at this point of time when COVID is still raging? Probably not. So offline retail is still very low, but e-commerce is shooting up exponentially, and understandably so. And domestic travel is likely to be more than international travel, and I'm not talking about flying. The next time you go on a holiday, you're more likely to drive your own vehicle and go somewhere close by because then you are safe, So domestic travel is likely to happen more than international. And countries that relied on tourism are going to be in real trouble. You take Thailand, for example. In January of this year, you can see the level of arrivals they had. And then you can see how it dropped. And after that, it's flat. There's nobody coming. The same thing happened in Europe. Look at Airbnb. All the people who are listed on Airbnb, there's nobody traveling now. So tourism is going to be very, very badly hit. And countries whose economies were based on tourism are very badly hit, including the likes of Singapore and Thailand and all of them, India included. So Australia, for example, is already telling its citizens, see Australia first, don't go overseas, so that they can start their economy rolling. And digital transformation is going to become the focus of every business. And I don't mean just digital marketing. Digital transformation means the entire company works digitally because there's going to be a decline in business travel or even travel to the office and working from the office. How do you make a company operate remotely? That's what digital transformation is all about. In other words, everything that you do has to be on a digital platform. It could be Zoho, it could be Kissflow, it could be, Freshworks, it could be anything. But you need to be working on digital platforms to enable your company to run. And we need to look at how do we do this. For example, we launched DigiGrad at the end of March this year. Can you imagine, in the middle of all this? And it's doing very well. And we're training hundreds of people in digital marketing, but online. Health and safety will become the key focus of individuals and companies. So what is likely to happen is shared mobility will go down. There'll be less traveling by bus, less traveling by Uber or Ola or anything that is shared. And most people would prefer to have their own mode of transport. So given all of this, you need to start thinking about, can I do a pivot to take advantage of this? Is there something that we can do in terms of a normal business process? If we can tweak it in some way, can we respond to the change that we see around us? Because you have to recognize it's going to be a new normal. Remember, we talked about 12 to 18 months. That's a very long time. And mind you, after 12 to 18 months, people are not going to change overnight. They're still going to do more e-commerce. They're still going to order takeaway. They still would prefer to shop online. Everything is going to be more or less the way it is now with a little bit of social mixing. So we've changed the way we eat, work, shop, exercise, manage our health. Everything has changed. And even when we get back, say at the end of 2021 or early 2022, it will be at a far less level than it was before the pandemic. So how do we market in that new normal? First, we assess the impact on our business. We develop the strategy, including maybe a business pivot. Then we go on the offensive to drive that as a business change. And then we make it happen in terms of marketing. That's what we need to do. So how do we assess the impact? We go back to what we talked about. We map it out in terms of where do we fall? High risk, low risk, medium risk. Where are we? Are we actually in a good position? Accordingly, we have to work out scenarios. What is likely to happen to our business? What is the level of impact? And what should we do to cut our costs and increase our margins? For every scenario, if you work it out, you'll have an idea of which is likely to work best. And mind you, once you work this out, it's not carved in stone. You have to monitor it month by month because the situation is changing month by month. For example, we've just gone into a 6th lockdown as of now. And I hear the government will extend it up to July 15th. Now, businesses had started opening. As you know, malls had opened, but now we're all locked down again. So we need to be monitoring it very carefully. And we need to define a strategy based on which industry we are in. So there are those that are positive. For example, online education, online medical advice and care, the apps that give you a chance to do all your medical stuff online. So all of those will do well. Online entertainment is doing very well. If you look at the level of Netflix subscriptions that have gone up, of Amazon Prime, it's gone up at 30-40%. So all those will do very well. Mildly negative is those industries where you may not be terribly impacted because you're not in retail or you're not a beauty salon or hotel or anything like that. You could be a shop selling hardware, for example. People will need hardware. So when you open, you will get business, but you may not get it at the previous level, but it's not going to be terribly impacted. You may get 50-60% of your business. Severe is, Uber and Ola, and hotels and tourism and all of that. Catastrophic would be, say, cinema halls. It's a toss-up between these two, but you get the idea. So you need to look at your business model and look at what is the likely impact and whether you need to stay in that business or even move out of it. Once you've revamped what you're going to do and how you're going to get revenues, you need to define your brand strategy with a structured approach. You need to plan ahead. We need to understand recovery is a journey. Just because you start doing stuff doesn't mean revenues are going to shoot up. It's going to go up nominally and slowly, depending on how things open up. You need to be ready for the opening up, which means, if you create manufacturing a product, you need to make sure that first your manufacturing starts. You start building up some stock, hold it in inventory. Then as it opens up, make sure your supply chains open up, your retailers open up, get your stock out to them, and then start communicating to people, talk to them, say that, your safety is our chief concern. You need to be empathetic. You need to be truly concerned about ensuring their safety. You need to talk about how you ensured safety and how the product is manufactured so that they're not getting something with an infection. Then you need to think about how to get them to the store. Not just e-commerce, but how do I get them to a store? Can I do an experiential activation at the store to get people there? You need to celebrate calendar moments to give people a reason to celebrate or something that you can build a story around for your brand. And remember, even if you are not doing much digital before, digital is going to be a cutting edge going forward. And digital marketing is going to be a cutting edge going forward. You also need to prepare for setbacks in case you have other lockdowns that are going to come. So you need to keep that in mind as well. What we need to understand also is what we call recession psychology. How are people going to respond? Are they going to be spending money like they did before? No, they're not. All of us know that we are all conserving as much money as we can, right? Especially those who've lost jobs. Even the ones who haven't have had to take pay cuts, or pay cuts are imminent. You know that going forward, as things are not improving, that there will be pay cuts. So the way people look at how they're going to spend money is going to change. So you have what we call the slam on the brakes segment, that is the most vulnerable and hardest hit financially. People who've lost their jobs, they probably have 3 to 6 months savings, which they're now using to live. Then you've got pain but patient consumers who are resilient, who are optimistic, who are still earning money, but they will spend more frugally. Then you've got the well-off people for whom it doesn't make too much of a difference, but even they will be a little careful about how they spend. Then you've got the young and the restless who are still earning well, who will, live for today, to hell with it. We will continue to do what we've always done. So there will be a change in behavior and attitudes. And we are really talking about 4 types of change. People will buy only essentials by and large. They will buy treats as indulgences. You may no longer go out and eat at a restaurant, but you might buy dark chocolate to have as a dessert after your meal at home. It's a treat. Or you might buy whatever it is that is meaningful to you as a treat at home. Then you have what are called the postponables, where you're going to upgrade from your present car to to a new one. No, not now. You'll postpone it. Where you're going to buy a flat, you'll postpone it. Where you're going to buy a larger fridge, you'll probably postpone it. So you have the postponables. Then you have the expendables. Things that you thought you would do, which you're not going to do now. For example, move from a flat into a row house, for example, an expensive home, or a duplex. Those sort of things you'll completely forget about. I'm not going to do it. So you have the essentials, the treats, the postponables, and the expendables. Now, as a marketer, we need to look at where we are against how people are going to behave. Is our product or service an essential? Is it a treat? Is it a postponable? Or is it an expendable? Once you've fixed on that, you mapped it out against the slam on the brake segment, the pained but patient, the comfortably well off, and the live for today. And you look at what is likely to happen. The pink squares are when you're in trouble. The yellow squares are the ones where you're all right. And the gray is when you're okay. So you need to map your strategy accordingly. For example, you have credit cards now saying, if you take a credit card, it comes with COVID insurance. So it could have been a postponable, but because you're offering it with insurance, you probably will take it. Cars are saying you can buy now, but you can start paying EMI 6 months later. Or they're saying if you bought our car and you're having trouble paying EMIs, we will suspend it for 6 months. So they're meeting you halfway to enable you to take these kind of decisions. So what can you do? Even if you're a treat, for example, what can you do to offer a version at a lower price to make it more affordable? Because people are spending more frugally. So you need to map it out against consumer behavior and consumer types and look at what will your strategies be. So this is what I was talking about, tailoring your tactics in terms of offering a more affordable version. Instead of a large pack that you used to offer earlier, you can now offer smaller packs that are more affordable. You can offer, Casa Grande recently advertised that you just have to make a down payment and you don't pay EMI for the next 1 year. Come and book your apartment. So they are trying to get a postponable into a buy now because they're giving you an offer you can't refuse. So look at how you can tailor your tactics to ensure that people will move from, say, expendable to postponable to treat to essential. You need to make sure that depending on where your product lies, you're able to have a tactic that will ensure that your product sells before you start marketing. So again, these are a few more things that I was talking about. Improve affordability with offers. If you're a premium brand, you might look at offering a more affordable sub-brand. Bolster trust when you're talking about quality of product or service. For example, if you're a salon, the way your staff are going to be dressed, each of them gets a fever check every day. Every customer gets a fever check. Your hands are sanitized. Everybody wears personal protection equipment, all of that. So that people feel confident that if I go there, I'm not going to get infected. But in all of this, keep in mind that you have to position for recovery by focusing on what is going on in the mind of a customer. What are their priorities? What are their concerns? And identify new product opportunities based on how people's behavior is changing. If you look at 𝗏𝗺, for example, one of the things they noticed is sanitizing your hands is okay. But what about the door handle that you have to use? What about if you took your phone with you to a shop and you put it down on the counter? What about if your phone has got infection on it and all that? So they have in fact launched a gadget sanitizer. It's called Back to a V. So you can carry it with you and sanitize the door handle before you open it. You can sanitize a counter before you put your phone on it. You can sanitize your phone. You can sanitize your keyboard if somebody else has used it. This is all based on understanding consumer concerns. So think about what you or your company can do. And whatever you choose to do, make sure that once you're ready, you take a digital first approach. Because people are spending enormous amounts of time online. In fact, you're spending their lives online at this point of time, pretty much, isn't it? Whether you're working, whether it's leisure, whether you're chatting or socializing, it's all online. I mean, we ourselves are on Zoom, for example. And, you may be speaking with your family members across the world on Google Hangouts or Zoom or on WhatsApp video. Everything is online. Entertainment is online. And that's where you want to catch people. And that's where you want to market first, because that's the way it's going to be for a long time to come. Television too at this time, for quick awareness, a lot of people are watching TV because, it's beamed into the home. So in terms of offline advertising, TV makes sense. And if you've been reading the newspaper in the morning, you'll see there are very few ads. Yeah, but people are watching a lot of TV. So there are ads on TV. In fact, there are more ads on TV at this point of time and even more ads on digital platforms. But how do you market on digital platforms? And here's what I'm coming to, digital marketing for the future. You take what's called a full funnel approach to manage the customer journey from how you create awareness to get them to start considering your product, to converting them, and so that they become your customers. And on the left-hand side, you can see brands that are doing it very well. And some of them are brands that are only digital, like Sugar or Raw. Sugar is a cosmetic brand, mind you. It's only online in terms of how they do stuff. So is Raw in terms of their promotions, right? We ourselves at Social Beat, we handle a very large consumer company's brand, which is only a digital brand. We do the entire thing full funnel. So what do you do at the awareness level? You can be doing advertising, digital advertising. You can be doing influencer marketing. All of that to catch the consumer's eye and create awareness of your product, right? And you can do digital first content. You can't take a television commercial and try and show it digitally. It has to be edited to fit the digital screen. You need the vertical screen on the mobile. You need the supers up close. You need tight close-ups because that's when you can see people. Everything changes in the way you do stuff. So you no longer shoot in the horizontal format. You shoot in the vertical format so that it's the phone format, right? So a digital first approach involves all of this. So at the awareness stage, you're catching their attention, and maybe if they click on your ad, you're driving them to your website or to your content, right? Or if they click on a video that you're promoting, you take them to your YouTube channel. So it depends on what your objective is as you create awareness. And how do you get them to start considering your product? You build deep content on your website. So when you get them to your website, you give them a whole lot of information about your product, or if they get to your YouTube channel, they see the video, and then you say buy now and give them a little bit more additional information. Consideration can be built with deep content in various ways. Even on your channel, if they watch one video, you then offer an option. You might want to watch this next. You know, how do you take them deeper and deeper into content that makes them convinced about your product or brand? So that's the consideration stage. Blogs play a big role over here, or answering questions on Quora, for example. All of this works, you know, it may not all happen in one shot, but over time, from awareness, people will move into the consideration stage. They will learn more about your brand or product, and then they move to conversion. They might come to your e-commerce platform, or they may go to Amazon. What do you offer them at that point of time? Do you offer them a discount? Do you offer them a bundled offer? Do you offer them, a pack that is a trial pack? So if your normal pack is 1 kilo, the trial pack is just 250 grams. It's very, very affordable. There are various ways you can do to convert a customer. But the future lies in full funnel marketing on digital. And the digital platforms enable you to do this, because no matter where your prospect is, whether he's on Instagram or Facebook or searching on Google or on YouTube, wherever the person is, the profiling is very, very clear, and therefore you can target them very, very accurately. You can even target them in terms of milestones in their lives. People who change jobs and move to a new city, a whole lot of products can aim at them. Consumer durables, home furnishings, home furniture, flats for rental, flats for sale. I mean, just think about it. Just by targeting them and tracking their journey, you can do all kinds of things to ensure that you're giving them what they need at their point of need. You're meeting them when they really need a particular service or product. And because of the analytics that are available on the digital platforms, you can actually track their journey and manage it until they become your customer. This is the future of digital marketing. So what are the key takeaways that we come to? The pandemic is going to continue for 12 to 18 months minimum. So be prepared, and be prepared for the second wave, which means you need to have inventory. You need to have your company working entirely on a digital manner in case there's a second lockdown. All the things that we talked about, you need to prepare. Companies are going to take very hard calls. You may have to, you've loved the way your company operates all this time, but now you may have to pivot because you don't have a choice, because things have changed. The GDP is going to contract, and unless you pivot, you won't survive. We have to adapt, keeping in mind the way consumer priorities have changed. It's health, safety first. You need to empathize, you need to be concerned, you need to reassure, you need to be positive. And keep in mind also that you have to do scenario planning and decide what is going to be your strategy, understand recession psychology, tailor your tactics, make sure that you offer things that people can afford, that people will want, all that sort of thing. And finally, lead with a digital strategy and start building in such a way that you follow a full funnel marketing approach. So that brings us to the end of this session. Thank you very much. Be ready to handle any questions you may have at this point of time. There you go. Should I answer the questions?
Yeah, so Shobhan will show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those are all to do with digital marketing operations, but anyway.
Yes. Thank you for the session. You know, it was a great session because it gave us an insight how the current situation is turning out, and how prepared we should be in order to get involved into digital funnel, and how a business, for instance, which is offline, need to move to online and prepare their complete operation funnel based on the 4 parts which you took us deep into, which is awareness, consideration, conversion, and retention. So that was really insightful, David. And now, when we are moving towards question, this might be very specific in terms of how current operations are, And post-COVID, are we seeing any tactical or strategical changes in digital marketing operations? So first question is, as customers are becoming fragmented in the mean that they are not only using Facebook, there are a lot of customers in TikTok or different platforms. So how brand communication is changing in this ecosystem, and what are the future challenges for a marketer? Because now I cannot bank on Facebook alone or Instagram alone. There are a lot of ways people are there online. So how do we cover this?
Fragmentation means there are smaller audiences on each channel. Usually fragmentation is something that's talked about where television is concerned, because there are 60 more channels and the audience is fragmented across it. But on digital, the numbers are humongous. It runs into millions. So it's not really fragmentation, but more in terms of profile.
Yeah.
For example, on Facebook, you will have a mixed profile and a very, very large audience. On Instagram, you have people up to 35, right? On TikTok, you have very young people, more in tier 2, 3, 4, and 3 and 4 towns, and less in metros. But now metros is also becoming more prevalent. And most of them will be in their own languages. It's not primarily English, it's primarily Indic languages. So it's not fragmented, but large groups of people behaving in a certain way. So depending on your brand or product, you can decide who your audience is and then decide which platforms you want to play on. YouTube is also a humongous channel, and there too 90% of what is watched is in languages. So it's not really fragmented, but it's a question of profiling and deciding, okay, where, and you need not do only one of them. You could do 1 or 2 or 3 of them, depending on what your audience is or where your audience is. So it can work very well and very powerfully. And you can also do things for quick awareness. For example, TikTok was used very effectively by Dettol as soon as the pandemic broke, right? You remember the Dettol hand wash challenge?
Yes.
People were dancing and doing it on TikTok. Before you knew it, it became a humongous hit. There were, I think, if I recall rightly, something like billions of views of the TikTok hand wash challenge. And because it did so well in India, the WHO has taken it up on TikTok worldwide.
Yeah. Yeah, great. And next, very specific to your organization. So as we know that Social Beats has 2 different platforms to cater to the digital marketing trend. One is influencer and next is Spotify. And now you also have a digital grad platform. So anything other than this, which we are foreseeing in future, which you would like to include in your portfolio?
Yeah, but let me begin by clarifying that Social Beat is primarily a digital marketing company. And we offer services across all aspects of what a company or a brand may need to empower them to be able to meet their business objectives. So we do everything from user experience design to website design and development, app design and development, search engine optimization and hosting, website maintenance, digital marketing, search engine marketing, influencer marketing, the entire gamut. Now, because of this, we have those platforms. Our primary business comes from digital marketing. Now, influencer marketing has close to over 30,000 influencers registered on it. So when any of the 120 brands we handle want influencer marketing, we just need to identify the right kind of influencer depending on the brand from influencer.in and match the 2. And then we manage the whole thing, right? And we also have a platform called 22languages.com, where we provide language content and language promotional content for the companies that we work for. Because today, if you don't have languages, you're not reaching a very large section of the population. So we are at the forefront of providing language content, of doing influencers. We have TikTok influencers. We have all kinds of influencers. So the reason for having those is to supplement what we do as a digital marketing company. And why do we have all of these services? Because we help companies do the full funnel approach.
Great. Great. Next question is about how are we driving this online sales? So as an attention grabbers, always digital marketers experiment with a lot of things. One is primarily discounts and rewards. What do you see other than these two primarily working, other than discounts and rewards? Any other experimentation that you can share us as an insight?
Yeah. See, what's happening is, unfortunately, thanks to Myntra and Flipkart and Amazon, everybody thinks if you buy online, it has to be on a discount. And I can tell you most brands and most companies are bleeding because these guys have cornered, huge volumes, and therefore they buy it at prices which are not even remunerative and sell it at a discount. So brands are beginning to look at how can I put across my value proposition in such a way that they don't necessarily only buy it at a discount. And there are brands, for example, which have their own e-commerce platforms now. They continue to sell on Amazon and Flipkart because those are like hubs, where millions of people come. So it's good to be there. It's like an online mall where people go and therefore you will get eyeballs and therefore you can sell. But many of them have their own offers as well. So people are beginning to realize not all about discounting only. It's about value propositions as well. And if you look at reaching people online and getting their attention, other than discounts, it is certainly in terms of a brand story, how well you put it across. Take the Dettol hand wash challenge. It's such a simple idea, but everybody remembers Dettol, right? So ideas like this, which are engaging and relevant and involving, where you get the prospect to do something. So they're all recording themselves doing the hand wash challenge, right? They'll never forget Dettol. So things like that are possible on the digital platforms, which you couldn't do on TV or anywhere else, right? Because it's not interactive. So that's what you can do. Or look at trends in life and around you and try and mirror that in some way and get people to respond to it online. So we handle a youth brand called 𝗬𝗂𝗺𝗶, which is into t-shirts and this, that, and the other. We do very funky stuff which capture people's imagination so that they buy the product because they identify with it and say, that's cool, man. I'm like that, so I want to buy those products, So there are various ways of doing it, but it's all based on consumer insight. Okay. That hasn't changed.
Yeah. And now, so at this tough point, when companies are starting up, do you see brand communities growing stronger in digital platform? And any reasons why starting a company means you need to have a brand community online? Does this correlate, and how it is going to evolve in the ecosystem?
If you're starting a business at this point of time, you better have a very, very good business idea, right? And you better be doing something that people need. And after that, given the current environment, the only thing you can do is digital marketing and e-commerce, right? So building a community at this time for a startup kind of a company may not be so easy, but they can actually sell. Now, selling is through digital advertising and performance marketing to drive people to their e-commerce platforms, right? As the number of people who bought their products grows, they start also doing things like social media and YouTube channels and all of that, where you can actually get people to come in and contribute what the brand means to them. So it becomes content that you're sourcing from your own established base of users. And that way you get not only engagement, but you get reinforcement that, yeah, I identify with this brand. And that's how you build the community. But you need to start by selling the product.
Yeah. And now this is a very, often asked question might be, we are seeing AI being used by developed marketers, content strategies and email marketing playbooks. Is it possible for AI automation to replace social media manager in future for a company? Do you really see this happening?
one thing AI can't do is do trend spotting or understand consumer behavior. It can up to a point in terms of data, but sentiment, it cannot track. So a social media manager who's able to understand the customer and what they're going through, AI can't replace. What AI can do is automate. For example, Google offers you this on the GMP, the Google Marketing Platform, where you have a product with a base benefit and you have different headlines. What Google can do is, depending on what people are searching for, every time it throws up the ad headline changes to what people are searching for. That can be automated, and they're already doing it. That's AI. So that is okay. It is transactional, because somebody looked for something, you offer your product with that search thing built into your headline. That sort of thing is possible.
Okay. Since there are so many uncertainties now, especially as an advice for young career enthusiastic in digital platform who have digital grad, any other thing that they can do for themselves to upskill for a bright future in digital marketing?
Yeah. See, one thing that you need to do definitely is to learn the skills of digital marketing. But learning the skills of digital marketing doesn't make you a marketer. Digital marketing only means you're using the digital marketing platforms to market, but you have to understand marketing. So I would advise young people to learn marketing. By all means, get your skills in digital marketing, but if you don't know marketing, you're not going to succeed in digital marketing. You need to be really good as a marketer. You need to understand consumer insight. You need to understand what is a brand promise. You need to know what positioning is. You need to know what a value proposition is. You need to know what segmentation is. You need to know how to use research to understand trends. You need to know how to use research to understand what the key benefit should be. For that, you have to know marketing. So I find a lot, there's a herd mentality. People are running out saying, I'm going to do digital marketing. You'll know how to operate digital marketing, but you're not a marketer. So to grow, you need to be a marketer first. Now, I'm not saying you have to go and do a degree after doing your digital marketing course. You can learn side by side, but that only comes by reading and with continuous learning. And unfortunately, a lot of young people today don't read. And they think once they finish with school and college, it's all done. Now I'll become a digital marketer and I'm going to become great. It's not going to happen. There has to be continuous learning. There has to be a need to upgrade your knowledge. That only comes from learning, not from learning some digital marketing skills. So to succeed at digital marketing, you have to be a marketer first. And once you have understood what a marketer is, you then need to keep up to date by understanding what's happening with the economy, what are the categories of products that are doing well, what are the kind of campaigns that are doing well, why are consumers responding to those campaigns, what are the key concerns, how is consumer mindset changing. All that you'll only know as a marketer. And then you use digital marketing to reach them.
Absolutely. Agree on that point, David. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time today. And the value that you brought us here is immense, because when you view this from a top view, I mean, a broad perspective of what is the current scenario and how digital economy will evolve, and digital marketing as an ingredient will fulfill this to evolve, is a great insight. Thank you so much. Over to you, Kaushik. Yeah.
I'll just add one more comment. Most companies have understood the importance of digital marketing today because everybody is online all the time, right? And people are responding well to digital marketing. So you take a consumer product company like 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. For them, digital marketing was just 5% of their overall media budgets. Most of it was television and below the line and all of that. Because of the pandemic, C.K. Ranganathan has changed that from 5% to 40% of their budgets. That's the future. That's the way it's going to go.
Absolutely. So a lot of projects in your kitty.
Well, I hope so.
Great, great, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Again, thank you so much, David. I mean, those were such practical ways in which any business can approach this situation and how they can adapt as well. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, David.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, guys, and all the very best with what you're doing. And all those who are out there watching this, all the very best to you too. I hope you come through the pandemic with flying colors. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you, David. Just before that, where can people find you, David? I'm sure they're going to have a ton of questions. Where can people find you?
LinkedIn.
Perfect. Yeah. All right, guys. So how is your business coping? Or do you really have that new business idea from after everything you've seen what David has just shown us? Let us know. Send it out to both David and make sure you tag us as well. So if we find you, we help you amplify that. And guess what? There's going to be a cool goodie coming knocking your door. If you haven't already, make sure that you bookmark this page. We have a ton of other cool sessions. Make sure you enable pop-up notifications as well. And I will see you in the next session. Hold up. Just before we leave, this summit will not be possible without you, our speakers, and our exquisite sponsors, HandySends. HandySends are the official partners of 𝗦𝘁cie𝗿𝗶𝗶𝗹𝗏, arguably one of the best mailing tools out there, right? These cool emails we're sending you, as I mentioned, were sent to you through HandySends as well. So make sure you check them out. They make the life of all developers and marketers alike easy. It's completely plug and play. Make sure you check them out, as I mentioned. And for the summit attendees, they have this cool 6 months for free offer, and their pro plans are at 20% off as well. Make sure you find the link down there, and we will see you in the next session. Make sure you send out all your social shares with hashtag #ThankYouSocial, thanking the power of social and our digital heroes. I will see you in the next session.